I'm going to describe the character journey and plot of Pretty Woman, a film that came out in 1990, a wonderful romantic comedy about two people who don't feel safe being vulnerable. Vivian and Edward are two people who live with transactions. Everything in their life is transactional. Edward is a high powered businessman and everybody around him does everything for him. He actually gets on the phone with his girlfriend who's based in New York, and he says, "Why aren't you here with me?" He's at a party in Hollywood. And he says, "Why aren't you here with me? I expect you to be here." And we hear that girlfriend's voice on the phone, and she's like, "That's completely unreasonable. You didn't tell me about it." And they basically have a 30-second argument, and she decides to move out of their house that they have together back in New York. So, Edward is this high power person who everyone says yes to, and he's got the money to back it up. We meet Vivian, who is a prostitute, but she's also someone who is a business person. She's trying to she doesn't have people running the show. She's independent. She has a friend that she works with, and she has a transactional nature in her life where every John is a transaction, and she just kind of enters an emotionless state when she is with them. There's a moment when when both Vivian and Edward are speaking where they actually realize that they do the same thing. They just do it in different parts of society. Um, Transactions, no emotions, and kind of delivering of different things, but still a similar pattern. So Edward and Vivian meet by circumstance. Edward actually gets lost, and she helps him get back to the hotel. And then he kind of moves and offers to have her over for the night. And then that grows into a week-long experience where Edward is kind of purchasing her as a girlfriend for a week, right? And he does all the things to adorn her and dress her up like a doll, and she goes and learns some of the culture to be able to fit in with his world. And they slowly begin, as they get to know each other, they begin to loosen up. They begin to be vulnerable. They both actually say that in relationships they don't kiss each other. Neither Edward nor Vivian don't kiss partners. Um, and that's a rule that they both follow. And of course, as soon as they say that, we find out that that's exactly what's going to happen by the end of this film. And Vivian and Edward end up falling for each other slowly over time as they introduce each other to one another's world. They both have similar and complementary character arcs. They each have a 5-second moment of change at different times within the film. We see that Vivian actually falls in love with Edward, and she's the one that initiates the kiss between the two of them. So her 5-second moment of change is actually that moment when she comes out of the bathroom after one of their nights out together at a glamorous uh, retreat, so to say, and she looks at him and he's asleep for the first time, so comfortable. She hadn't seen him sleeping until then, and something inside of her changes. She looks at him and she realizes that she's in love with him, and so she initiates this kiss, and she tells him that she loves him in that moment. They make love that is passionate compared to the other kind of scenes that they alluded to in this film. And that's kind of the first time that they're together. But the next morning, Edward wakes up and he's very transactional again. Whatever Vivian did, it scared Edward, and Edward isn't yet ready to commit. And he actually moves throughout the rest of the film. She has committed. She's looking for her Rapunzel moment. She's looking for that man to climb the tower and to rescue her from her life, from her captivity. But Edward isn't there. He's not there until he until the very last 5 minutes of the film, he's sitting in a limo, he's heading back to be lonely in New York, and he makes that decision. This is his 5-second moment of change where he says, "You know what? I'm going to give this a shot." We don't really hear him say that, but it's visible in his actions and in his intentions. He shows up to Vivian's apartment and he climbs the fire escape and he goes and hugs her as her Prince Charming coming to save her. And then there's this beautiful moment where Edward asks Vivian, "What happens next?" And Vivian says, "Well, the princess saves the prince as well." And so that signifies their mutual respect for each other. And it signifies their full character transformation as two equal partners who are vulnerable, emotionally attached, and in love. This film is a ton of fun. I enjoyed it. As I said, I watched it when I was a kid, and watching it again brought back the same kind of tingly feeling of impossible love that we get to see on display. I hope that you have a similar joy of this one, and that you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time.